session of transportation engineering. As you all know that we are discussing railway transportation and we have covered various segments of railway transportation such as the role of railway transportation, then what is ballast, what is sleeper, what are the usage, what are the track fittings, what is fastening. We have learned all the things. Now in this session we'll continue to the particular railway transportation only, which is segment 3, and we'll cover the topics such as coning of wheels and geometric design of track. Okay, before beginning the coning of wheel topic, I would like to ask you one thing and you have to answer in your mind. We'll take a break of 5 seconds and then we'll continue. The question is that you may have observed number of times that whenever the wheels of the train are moving on the railway track, you may have observed the shape of the particular wheels. Remember those things and remind yourself that what is the exact shape that you had observed while viewing that particular train. The shape of that particular wheels were flat or not? Were they totally flat? No, the shapes were not totally flat. And what is the reason why the particular shape of that particular wheel is not kept as totally flat? That is what we are going to learn in the topic of coning of wheel. And then we'll learn about the geometric design of track. So let us learn about coning of wheels. See, this is the particular, what I can say, this is the view of a particular wheel of railways. See, this is called as axle. This is axle. These are the wheels. These are the rails, and these are the wheels. These are the wheels, and this is called as flange. These are the flanges. These are axles. These are rails. These are wheels, and these are flanges. So you can observe that there is a space between this flange and rails. And the shape of this particular wheel is like this. If you extend this line, it will be like this. If you extend this line, it will be like this. It is not flat. It is not flat. It is in this transverse direction. And slope is given over here. This is the slope given. 1 in 20 and 20 and 1 in 20. Then 20 means 20 horizontal and 1 vertical. So why this thing is kept? So let me tell you that the surface of the wheels are made in cone shape. So you can observe that if you extend these lines, it will be like this. So these are made in the cone shape and these are at the inclination of 1 in 20. And the same slope we have provided in the rails also. So this thing is called as coning of wheels. It is mainly done to maintain the vehicle in the central position with respect to the track. Now what I am trying to say is you have observed the tracks that the tracks are moving in a number of directions. So whenever the tracks are moving in direction like this, if the wheels are kept flat, then they will experience creep and there are chances that the wheels can get displaced from the rails and can get outside of the rails. To reduce these chances, to stop this particular phenomenon, coning of wheel is mainly done. They are used to maintain these wheels on the central position. So this additional space is provided so that they can move easily and they cannot get displaced from this rails to outer side of the rails. When the vehicle is moving on the level track, then the particular flanges of the wheels have equal circumference. You can observe this. See, this is the gauge distance and this is the particular width between this particular wheel flange. This G is always greater than B or B is always less than G. So this is the phenomenon of coning of wheels. See, you can observe this is the particular shape of that particular wheel. This is the shape. See, this is how the shape of particular wheels on the rails are provided. You can see this is the coning shape. This is called as coning of wheels. Now during the right turn, what will happen? The axle will tend to move leftward due to the centrifugal force and it will make the left wheel on comparatively large diameter section than the right wheel makes the turn shape. So this particular spacing is given, this spacing, this. See, this space is covered over here. You can observe the space, this is space and the space is reduced. So this is how it will take place. Now, there are certain advantages of coning, such as it reduces the chances of wear and tear of the wheel flange and rails. It is used to provide the possibility of lateral movement of the axle. The axle can also move in this and this direction as the extra space is given over here. And it also prevents the slipping of the wheel from this particular rail. The rail will not come out of this particular track due to this coning of wheel. Now we'll discuss about the geometric design of track. So it is very important. Now look, you have already learned highway geometric design. You have learned curve, super elevation, side distances. Majority of the things which we have covered in the highway geometric design, in the geometric design of track or railways, they are similar. So you can take the reference of highway geometric design and you will able to get the things. I am covering the most important aspect of geometric design of track. The segments which are left, such as curve, then radius of curve, then super elevation, we have already covered in highway geometric design. You can take the reference from them and you can calculate on your own by with the help of the book and with the help of highway geometric design. So in particular of railway transportation, it is very important for the tracks to have the proper geometric design. Why? If proper geometric design is there, then the safe and smooth running of the train with maximum permissible speed will be there, even if heavy axle loads are there. The speed and axle of the particular train are very important, we all know. And sometimes they are also included as the parameter whenever we are considering the geometric design of the track. So mainly there are three things. First is the gradient. You have already learned various kind of gradient. Exceptional gradient, then ruling gradient, maximum gradient, minimum gradient, steeper gradient. So in this we are covering a few other gradients other than highway gradients. Then the curvature of track, that includes horizontal and vertical curve, transition curve. You have already covered this thing in the highway geometric design. Sharpness of the curve, super elevation, and then alignment of the track, such as straight alignment and curved alignment. So what is the necessity to provide the geometric design? These are certain need to provide geometric design, such as to ensure the smooth and safe running of train, to achieve maximum safe speed, to carry the heavy axle load, to avoid the accidents, to avoid the derailment means derailment means the wheels are not displaced from the rails, to ensure that the tracks are having less maintenance, and for good aesthetic view they should be good in viewing as a viewer. So these are certain necessities of geometric design, that smooth and safe running of train should be there, maximum speed should be there, heavy axle load should be there, accident and derailment should be there, good aesthetic should be there. So these are the geometric design. Now let us discuss about certain gradient. Now you all know the gradients are provided to negotiate the rise or fall in the railway track, such as the highway, same as highway. First is the rising gradient. Rising gradient means where the track rises in the direction, in the movement of traffic. And falling gradient means where the track loses its elevation or the track is moving in the direction of lower direction. The rising gradient and falling gradient. For example, if there is a rise of 1 meter in 400 meter, this is 1 meter rise in 400 meter, then it is called as 1 is to 400. See, 400 meter is the horizontal length and 1 meter is the vertical length. It is called as 1 is to 400. And if you calculate is it in the percentage form, then it will be, with respect to 100, it will be 0.25 percentage. So this is all about the rising and this is the falling gradient. Now, they are provided to negotiate the rise or fall in the railway track. We have already learned that particular thing. Now we'll discuss about various objectives, such as They are used to reach the various locations, to reduce the cost of earthwork, to follow the natural contours. Same thing that we have learnt in highway apply applies to railway gradients also. Only few changes are there. You do not have to create a new concept in your mind. Let us discuss about the type of gradients. Grueling gradient, pusher or helper gradient, momentum gradient, and gradient at the station yards. First is about the ruling gradient. We have learned that ruling gradient is the steepest gradient and it determines the maximum load that can be hauled by the locomotive on the section. But whenever we are deciding the ruling gradient for the particular track section, we do not need only to consider the severity of the gradient, but along with that, we also have to consider the length and the position on both the side in the consideration, because whenever the train is traveling on the gradient part, it will require extra force to get the train from this place to this place. So that extra force P required by that engine, that is called as locomotive, that is called as train, to pull the train from this place to this place of the weight W at the inclination of angle Q, it will be given as W sine Q, where Q is very small, which is W into gradient. If plain terrain is there, then it ranges from 1 is to 150 to 1 is to 250. And if hilly terrain is there, then it ranges from 1 is to 100 to 1 is to 150. So this is all about ruling gradient. Now let us discuss about pusher or helper gradient. The pusher gradient is used in the hilly area. Sometimes we need to provide a gradient which is steeper than the ruling gradient, and this is called as pusher gradient. When the gradient of the section is so steep as to necessitate the use of extra engine, that the train has to push the engine and extra pushing force is required, that particular gradient is called as pusher or helper gradient. Example of pusher gradient includes, there are certain trains such as, we are living in the region of Western Railways, but in Central Railway there is a section of Budni Bareghar, or Budni Barkhera, sorry. And in the Darjeeling Himalaya section, pusher gradient is there. Then if you discuss about momentum gradient, it is just like the name suggests. It is steeper than the ruling gradient, and this particular thing is overcome by the train because of the momentum it gathers while running on the section. As we have already mentioned that the pusher gradient is used in the hilly region, in valley region, momentum gradient is used. So what happens in valley gradient? We do not have to accelerate the vehicle because the falling gradient sometimes followed by a rising gradient. Uh, if this kind of situation is there, then a train coming from a falling gradient acquires good speed and momentum and additional kinetic energy, which allows it to negotiate the gradient in the ruling gradient. If the train is coming from falling gradient and if it is traveling in the rising gradient, then very less amount of energy is required because the momentum will be given by that particular falling gradient. So that momentum gradient is called as momentum gradient. In sections of momentum gradients, there are no obstacle provided because when the train is traveling from this direction, and if it is going in this direction, so the momentum is automatically created due to this flowing kinetic energy, and there should be no obstacle in this direction such as signals which may bring the train to critical juncture. So this is what all about momentum gradient. Then let us discuss about grade compensation on curves. We have already discussed this thing in the highway geometric design. Then that is the same thing with certain, what I can say, gauge criteria. The curve provides extra resistance to the movement of trains, and as a result of that, the gradients are compensated to the following extent. If broad gauge track is there, then 0.04 degree of the curve is provided, which is minimum. If meter gauge is there, then 0.03. If narrow gauge is there, then 0.02 is provided. Let us discuss it with the help of an example. What we have given over here is find the steepest gradient on 3-degree curve is given, broad gauge line is given, and ruling radius is given. Broad gauge is given, so we will consider 0.04 as the minimum. 3-degree curve is given, and ruling gradient is 1:200. First is the ruling gradient, which is 1:200. If we convert it in the form of percentage, then it will be 0.5. We have already learned this thing in the highway geometric design. So you just have to convert this in the percentage form with respect to 100. Now 3 degree is given. So what we will do? We will multiply this 3 degree with the given criteria. This is broad gauge line, so it will be 0.04 into 3. So compensation will be 0.12%. Fine. Now what will be the compensated gradient? The major gradient is 0.5 and we have to compensate the gradient up to 0.12. So it will be 0.5 minus 0.12, so it will be 0.38, 0.38 percentage. And if you want to convert this in form of 1 is to horizontal, vertical is to horizontal or horizontal to vertical, it will be 1:264. So the most steeper gradient or the steepest gradient that we can provide on that particular curve is 1:264. See, 3 degrees given, broad gauge line is to given. What we have done, we have just pick up this line, this criteria, we have multiplied this with this, we have got this value. This is already given in form of horizontal is to vertical. We just have to deduct this value from this value, and this is how we will get. So this is all about grade compensation on curve with respect to railway transportation. I hope you have gone through the concept thoroughly. Thank you.